What's up, my fellow Doncicians? I am theLUKAshow. Welcome to the Luka Show. This is part 3 of the Egg Hunt Challenge, meaning first subscriber to gather up all the eggs from this episode and the past 2 episodes, so 3 total episodes, unscramble all those letters and those eggs, and come up with the correct phrase, and there's your hint, guys. Correct phrase is going to win one of these Luka jerseys behind me, so good luck, have fun with it. Now let's jump into this episode, because last episode left it on somewhat of a cliffhanger. I talked about a bunch of players I'm selling and when. I talked about LeBron, Giannis, Zion, Ja. I ended with a stack of Lukas that I'm moving, but I did not tell you guys when and the strategy behind selling these Lukas. So this episode I'm going to tell you about the strategy behind selling these Lukas. But first, I have some breaking news. I have more Lukas I'm adding to the stack. So first, let's quickly go through these Lukas, and then I'll tell you about the selling strategy. Alright, so a few of these I have duplicates of. So this one, his Threads, Premium Gold, I have another copy of. I do really like this card. I loved Threads last year. It was such a fun rip. I love it anytime you can hit golds in retail. Really is an added bonus for me, but the design. I love the jersey in the front, jersey in the back, 3 different variations, and they had 3 different jersey styles, 3 different images. Really fun product. Unfortunately, Panini axed it this year, so pretty thankful that they just made this card for Luka, but man, I really wish they didn't axe it. It was a real fun product to rip. So that one with the duplicate goes on the stack, not too big of a deal. Same with this one. This is his second year backstage pass. I talked in my last episode. I'm not going to be going ham on all of his cards, so second year I'm going to be selective. This one also I have a duplicate of, but you know, I like these quirky cards. It looks like he's going to the club. He's rocking the red jacket, the 77 necklace, and cool card. Have a duplicate of it. Makes it easier to move on. Let someone else enjoy that one. Alright, these next few are a little bit trickier. This one is Luka's Luck of the Lottery Mojo. And what an understatement, right? Dallas with the 5th pick in that draft. The fact that they're able to walk away with Luka Doncic, one of the great moves in NBA draft history if you know, Luka's career continues in the trajectory it's going. But for me, as a Kings fan, it's a little bittersweet. It's a little bittersweet because it reminds me also the Kings made an awful decision not choosing Luka Doncic, which will make it a little bit easier moving this card. But this is the second Luka I ever owned, so that's the emotional connection here, and it's a cool looking card. Alright, next one is Luka's Certified Gold, and this was actually the very first Luka Gold that I owned, so that's the emotional connection here, and I've held on to it saying, oh, I'm never going to move it. It's my first Luka Gold. But, you know, I've picked up quite a few Luka Golds over the years, last year and a half. And so I just think that story is not as compelling for me, to be honest. And now with higher plans, hopefully a big upgrade here, it's a card I'm willing to sacrifice. It's not easy, but it is a card I'm willing to sacrifice. Now this next one is tough. It's because I love this card. I do have 3 copies of this card, but it's still a card that I look at most frequently. One of the most, just one of my favorite Luka cards in general. And this is being influenced by a sale of a Luka Doncic PSA 10 Galactic sale for $18,000. This is not the PSA version. This is the BGS. But it really, I mean, I bought this card for $2,000, and I look at that PSA 10 sale at $18,000. And we've seen PSA 10, that gap, grow somewhere in that 30 to 40% range over BGS, which is too big, in my opinion. It should be more like 20%. But with high-end cards like this that don't come along too frequently, sometimes you can see a narrow gap. So I would say this card could fit in that $12,000, $14,000 range with that $18,000 PSA 10 sale. Now, why? Some people say, why is there such a gap here, even to begin with? Because you look at a true gem 9.5, why should that be going for significantly less than a PSA 10? I think there's a few reasons at play here. One, I do think there's more loyalty with collectors when it comes to PSA over BGS. There's more pride with certain collectors collecting just PSA cards. I think also just the whole psychology of a PSA 10 versus a 9.5. But I think the biggest reason for me, actually, that I justify that PSA 10s should be worth more than BGS 9.5s is that with BGS 9.5s, you have a higher grade, right? You've got 10s. So you know you don't have the best of the best of a BGS graded card. PSA 10s, that's the best grade they give, right? So you have to realize under the umbrella of PSA 10 cards, you would have cards, if you sent to BGS, it would be graded as a BGS 10 and black labels. So the fact that that PSA 10 umbrella encompasses these higher grade cards, just that creates the value right there over BGS 9.5s. But again, I think it should be closer to 20% for cards like this. I'm probably pumping my own card here a little bit. And who knows, maybe I can get $14,000, $15,000, maybe it'll be less than $12,000, but it is a card that with 3 copies of, I think it's the right play, even though I really don't want to. It'll pay for all of the Galactics I bought times 2, so gotta look at it from that perspective, but I am really emotionally attached to this card. All right. So, what is my strategy? How do I plan on selling these Lukas? Originally, I was actually thinking about starting with my lowest dollar amount Luka cards and moving my way up to my high-end cards, and starting selling these cards during the 8 seeding games and moving my way up, selling my biggest cards during the playoffs. However, I started thinking about it, and I realized I didn't want to have all my high-end cards selling at the same time. I want them to be spaced out a little. And the rationale behind that is, I feel if a buyer sees 4 high-end cards that he wants, but they're all selling at the same time, he or she in his head goes, I can't go after all of those cards, right? You got to pick and choose. But if you space them out over the course of, let's say, 4 weeks, you have 4 high-end cards selling over 4 weekends, that gives buyers first a chance to secure funds, but also just the psychology of like, okay, it's 1 card at a time. It's not like, oh crap, all 4 of these are up for auction right now. What am I going to do? So I think that's the best strategy. In order to make that happen, what I'm going to do is sell off a smaller dollar amount Luka card, and then a mid-range Luka card, and then a higher end Luka card when the 8 seeding games start, and continue along that pattern basically. Small, mid-range, and then higher end. And that will allow me to space out my high-end cards throughout the return of the NBA, and it's going to culminate with the sale of this card in the playoffs. It's going to be a wait and see. I'm going to see how the Dallas Mavericks look. If they are paired up against the Clippers, and in the playoffs, how they look against those Clippers before I exactly pull the trigger on that. So that is my Luka strategy. I'm going to spread it out. I'm going to spread out my high-end cards over the course of the return of the NBA and into the playoffs. Will it work? We'll find out. Again, I'm going to share with you guys all the sales of these cards, how I went about selling them, and if this really mattered in the end, right? If this thought process, trying to sell strategically, made a difference. That'll be interesting to see. Anyways, thanks for joining again, guys. This was part 3 of the Egg Hunt Challenge, so there have been a lot of eggs. Good luck. See you guys next time. Peace out.